it's been amazing. I can't even put it into words as like the response. So again, you show up here. It was literally at one point it was just me and some other kid who was working there. It was two of us, and I remember the sales that Tony was talking about. He did, and I was like, all right, well, yeah, I think we could do X, Y, and Z. So I think there was like maybe 2 entrees, 3 entrees, and 4 small plates. And then I finally got more people. My old sous, one of my old cooks I kind of promoted to a sous chef role kind of came on, and we grew and grew. But it was amazing to, again, not be pigeonholed, to truly cook the food that you believe in, right? Like from the heart, like every day, wake up early, come in, kick ass, put your fucking apron on, right? And do it without any like question of like, who's gonna like this or who am I cooking for? Just come in and this is the fucking menu tonight. We're gonna just rock it. And then it was amazing, like once you start doing that, and just the response of people, like it was like people like, holy shit, you're cooking whole food. It's weird. It was weird. I'm like, no, I'm just cooking food, right? Like, but like, no, but it's like whole. I'm like, yeah, it's whole food, and it's weird what people are missing. It's like weird, like. And the response has been great, like from all demographics.
This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you on the show for a second time chef partner, Vino E Vivo, Chef Paul Callahan. My man Paul, are you feeling unstoppable today?
So unstoppable.
Dude, I'm psyched to have you here. This is the second time we've had you on the show. The first time was in 2015, nearly over 9 years ago. It's crazy. It was episode 135.
Yeah.
And that's nearly 1,000 episodes. This is going to be episode 1,122.
That's nuts.
And I know you have jumped around. You've been to a few different restaurants since then. You worked with... her name's Caswell.
Nancy.
Nancy,
yep.
Thank you. Past guest on the show as well. You were at Blue Moon for a while.
A little bit.
Yep, for a little bit. And you had your project that you were working on. Your
Still working
homestead.
on. Yeah.
And so we have a lot to unpack today, man. And I'm sure there's other things that happened that I'm not aware of in the past 9 years. And I can't wait to dive into what's happened over the last 9 years, but let's get that motivational, inspirational, ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Make it work.
Make it work. I was wondering if you were going to use the same quote as last time, which was learn to love to fight.
That's a great one too.
That is a good one.
I've definitely learned to live that fight.
It is a fight, man. You gotta learn to love it, especially in a world that's changing so fast.
That's crazy.
Like you figure it out, you win a match, and then the next match is starting.
Yeah.
So the fight never ends. But back to that quote you shared today.
Mm-hmm.
Dive into that a little bit.
Make it work. It's kind of like it's kind of just a saying in the kitchen where I give the like autonomy to younger cooks and try to figure things out, make it work. So they can see a bigger picture besides what's kind of like, not in front of them. As in like, I don't have enough plus, I don't have this, or it's kind of just like make it work. We can make it work.
Work with what you got.
Yeah. And then, so when you say make it work, means that there has to be an end result that's positive and you make it work.
Yeah. And I think that there's some like consistency in your quotes, because that's a fight in itself.
Absolutely.
A daily fight of just like, what do I have today?
Yeah.
Make it work. What do I have? Like, what's the ecosystem of the industry today? Make it work.
Yeah.
Like, is there a pandemic? Was there a hurricane that blew through my town? Like, make it work. And I think that
or if you're like offsite catering
right.
for, a Louis Vuitton event and you blow every single fuse and you have nothing to cook with and you have to make it work.
Yeah, man. I love that. So 9 years.
Crazy. Here we are.
When I last spoke with you, you were at number 8 kitchen.
Yeah.
Were you there when they closed?
I was not. I left. Okay. Yeah.
So take me to where it makes sense over the past 9 years, chronologically. Where were you 9 years? Like, what was your vision for yourself?
9 years ago, obviously, because you came along and kind of helped me along, but it was to open up a real, true, authentic farm-to-table restaurant inside an old homestead that I purchased, took off the market, which I still own to this day, 1740. The idea was to, people ask me what would be my end goal as a chef, and to this day, it's It will never change, but it's the idea that I wake up every day and I cook the food that I have to instead of the food that I want to, and that's dictated by land. You can't get more authentic than that, right? Like,
make it work.
Make it work. It's like literally make it work. Yeah. So that dream is still there. I got close a couple times. Kids got in the way, which is always super positive. But hindsight, it's good that I am here what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's actually, thank you for saying that, because I do like to start with kind of letting our listeners know, where are you now? So paint that picture of where you are now, and then we'll go back to 9 years ago.
So I'm at this little restaurant, Vino E Vivo, in Exeter, New Hampshire. It's my second home. People ask me like, what it's like here, and it's home. I can't explain it. I never had a restaurant experience like this. I've been doing this for a long time.
This is your first partnership in a restaurant, so where you're a partner in a business?
True.
Yeah. So that's huge. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. It's just a lot of hard work to get here.
Just recently recognized, I think finally getting the recognition you deserve. You got the James Beard nod for Best Chef nominee.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know the state of New Hampshire has been giving you a lot of attention too.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like your time is like hasn't even started yet, man. Honestly.
No. It's been crazy. Like, so I show up at this little restaurant and kind of out of the blue, like, pandemic happened. I left a job that I was making a lot of money and running 2 kitchens, kind of burnt out. I was like, I'm all set with this. I'm done. And then literally 2 months later, the pandemic happened. So I was without a job anyways.
What were the 2 kitchens you were running at this point?
Brine and Ceia.
Okay.
And then I kind of had a in-between job where I was kind of helping a friend kind of rebrand a restaurant during the pandemic. So that was fun. Kind of learned a lot. Half my kitchen staff here now comes from there, which is kind of a neat concept.
Yeah.
And then again, I wasn't looking for a job. I actually just happened to read a post about this place because one of my old friends opened this restaurant, and it was funny because it was like, we'll have entrees again. We're only doing small plates.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, did you leave Vino?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Of course you did. That's kind of crazy because it's a cute little spot."
It is a cute spot.
And then it was truly amazing. Like so I reached out to Tony, like a professional does, on Instagram. Right? Isn't that what we all do nowadays?
I still choose to drive across the country and show up in the front door. That's still my MO. But I've heard people have success with LinkedIn.
Yeah, it was funny. It just it was interesting because I didn't know his background, and so when I got here, I met him, and he just put a patio on the river, which is absolutely gorgeous. And then the place it's funny because when you're in the space, it's different than when you see anything on photos. And the best part was we never talked about food or wine, right? Like, isn't that like he's a wine guy, I'm the chef, but we never, that was hospitality. And again, still haven't had a conversation like that until this day.
I love it.
Even with people who grew up in the business and owned restaurants. It was amazing. So someone who was on their retirement plan opened up a restaurant when he was 70, I think, or 69.
That's wild.
To actually get it. Like, it was like, wow.
And to be successful, like out of the gates. I'm not sure everything takes time to build momentum, right? But
yeah, he was actually planning on closing this place before I got here.
Wow.
It was in the cards. He talked about it.
Let's get into that. I want to definitely unpackage that. And before we go back to that 9-year point where we left off, where are you now with your own estate?
So I slowly been working on it.
When I say estate, Paul's living in this house and in the process of building out basically you're making the core house into a restaurant.
Yeah.
And you're still living
in the barn, the old barn.
Yeah.
So I have a couple moving parts as of even today, this morning. So I think my end goal would be to eventually do what I want to do there, but kind of lump this place along with that place and kind of do like Vino on the farm. And just do like weekend dinners.
Yeah, man. I love that.
Just one seating. Again, everything from the land, everything cooked in the hearth, which was, again, I've had fire department, building inspectors, health department there. And they still can't wrap their head around like the idea of not having a commercial kitchen, but everything's cooked inside the original hearth ovens. So I've been working with them on plan designs and how to like kind of navigate that.
And it's rough, man, that we can't. I mean, it's like the regulation. I get it; it's important, but at the same time, when you overregulate, it just becomes so difficult to be an independent business.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's really, we got to find that balance. So that's where you are today.
Yeah.
Back to where we left off 9 years ago. You were with Number 8 Kitchen, and you're like, did you have a plan for yourself at this point, or are you just trying to get your homestead going?
It was just my homestead.
Yeah.
That was like, we were so close. I mean, yeah.
Well, what were the challenges? Like what happened? Take us through that journey. I mean,
long story short,
imagine the amount of challenges.
I mean, I can make this really depressing, or I can kind of
make it real, dude.
So I had a loan to do it. Like a bank gave us a loan.
Are you comfortable talking about numbers?
Yeah.
What was the loan?
It was so my mortgage was $250,000.
Okay.
I was going to get a loan for $550,000. They were going to buy me out. So the original package was right around $800,000.
Okay.
And
so was it two separate loans, a business loan and a home mortgage loan?
It was just one lumped.
Okay.
One project loan.
Got it.
And what was also interesting was the only people that kind of believed in us was Farm Credit East. So they were a farm business. Bank, every other bank were like, you're just a restaurant, but I was really trying to reinvent how small farms worked and operated through permaculture design, being that the end result would be a commercial kitchen. So turning and kind of redesigning what a CSA was, not
what
just
does CSA stand for?
Community Supportive Agriculture.
Okay.
So a lot of people just have timeshares of that with farms, but mine was going to be more full scope, where you got to come to weekly dinners. You got to come for a nightly, it's kind of like a subscription model where you pay dues and that gives you access to. It was like 25. I called it 25%. So say if you spend $1,200 a year, 25% of, instead of just getting every week produce, 1 week you would get produce. The next week you would get cooking classes with me. The next time it would be a dinner. So every week you could do something different. That kind of lumped it in.
Where was your inspiration for this?
Like a really kind of like a stone barns, kind of like really small, and just working on farms prior to being here.
Well, I'm talking about the inspiration for the business model, that concept, because that's not traditional.
No, just was it 9 years ago? So 9 years ago there was a big movement towards kind of like redefining the way in which farms can generate revenue, not just by, it was almost like commodity added stuff, so I can grow a head of lettuce and put it at the end of my driveway and sell it for $2.50, or I can take that head of lettuce, put it in my restaurant and sell it for $13.50 or whatever it is.
Right.
So that value added commodity to it.
But then also building in some type of reoccurring revenue model where people pay up front and then they get it's like a subscription model.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. And then cooking classes was in there. I had, I hate lunch. Didn't want to do lunch, but I was really into supporting kids' growth in the community, as in farming and food. So cooking classes during the day, kids camps. So it was very well rounded.
Yeah.
So this farm bank was holy shit. This
farm bank, is that what it's called?
Farm Credit East.
Farm Credit East. And are they still going today?
Oh yeah.
How was your experience with them?
They're amazing.
Yeah.
So
Farm Credit East, if you're listening to this podcast, we're looking for people to make an example of and sponsor the show. Please reach out. So I had a loan, and as of it was November 5th, I remember it, November 5th, 2015, I think it had to be signed. And my partner was my father-in-law, so again, that's probably not the best advice. Backed out, and a lot of it had to do with the aesthetics of the building, and so he backed out the day we were going to sign it. And then I lost all my permits December 8th on my birthday, the following month. So all my site plan, all my civil engineering work, so DOT, parking, septic, fire, all that. So all my permits went to shit. So I spent $25,000 on that, and then lost all that. Oh, geez. So where were you at this point emotionally?
Oh, I was broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long? How like?
Oh, even till this, even talking about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I pass this building every day, right? Like wake up and I get to see this building that could have been a restaurant.
You don't just pass it. You wake up next to it. It's like it's attached to you.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those things. I mean, I wouldn't be here, right? So, it's been crazy. It's been hard, and then kind of just navigated through different restaurants again.
Do you mind me asking about the relationship with your father-in-law?
I don't speak to him to this day.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's okay.
All right, we don't have to go any further. So you navigated. So what, like, in terms of like, so this was your plan. It kind of crumbled around you when you couldn't get the capital, which is such a common story, right? You were broken.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get right back out there? Like, where was there a period? Like take us to like where like.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up in kitchens. Yeah, I mean, working with Nancy was great. You know.
Did you approach her? Or did she approach you?
I approached her. Justin was leaving.
I worked with Justin.
Yeah, great dude.
He was over at. I found him. He was working with. Oh my God, so many names in my head right now. This is killing me that I can't just Pat Susi.
Yep.
Over at the farm down there. Why can't I think? I actually worked there and I can't even think.
Applecrest.
Applecrest Farm Bistro is what it was called.
Yeah, Pat's he's an amazing dude too.
Justin, I remember he gave like the staff a speech one day. He was like, "This is my career. I know for a lot of you, this is a job. This is my career. So if I come off as an asshole sometimes, you need to understand that like this is a part of like my big picture. Like if this works, then that's a huge step up for me as the sous chef here to go on and do other things. That always stuck with me. He's a really passionate dude.
Yeah, he's doing crazy stuff in Costa Rica right now.
Oh, is that where he is?
Yeah,
I would love to go to Costa Rica.
He's kicking ass. Because he went to school, like him and I hit it off because of the whole permaculture background. That's what he went to school for, and plants and kind of like landscape design. So he has his own business in Costa Rica where he literally designs people's like yards, and he kind of caters and does like beach parties with food.
So the yards that is it around permaculture? Or like
it's a mix, yeah.
Like a yard you can live off of, basically.
It's a good mix.
That's cool.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah,
but I mean,
good for him.
He just literally uprooted and ended up there, and now he has his own kind of design business in Costa Rica.
If I ever I have a reason to go to Costa Rica now. Justin, let's get you on the show. So he departs. You hear through the grapevine that there's an opportunity there. You reach out to Nancy. How did that go?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, Nancy was great. Sometimes, just time goes, and again, it's just like, it's different looking back on all these different kitchens and how each one has to operate, and each town's different around here, right? So, sea coasts, we're inland a little bit. There's a lot of tourist trapped towns, cities.
Yeah, Nancy Batista Caswell, she is in Newburyport. Yep. She is the owner of Ceia. Brine. Yeah,
Ceia closed. She sold it.
She sold it.
We with Brine.
And she has another one too.
She closed that one as well.
What was it?
Oak and Rowan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is she doing projects? That was in Boston, right?
Yeah.
She closed that. So is she just doing Brine right now?
Just Brine. Okay. Yeah. It's probably a good money maker for her.
Yeah. That's a very busy spot. Popular. She was on the show as well. I can't remember the episode number. If you guys want to check out that episode.
So it's interesting because, like, again, Newburyport's definitely a port town. Where we are is like 25 minutes from there, so we're kind of inlet. So
what was different about this market that was new to you?
So I everything kind of like people kind of fall in this trap of like tourism. Our biggest, I guess, city town that is food related in this state is Portsmouth, right? So like. I hear it all the time. It's a weird catch up there where it's people are trying to be creative outside the box, but then get pigeonholed into the tourism traps and trying to appease every single person that kind of comes through, and all these walks of life. And then when you start doing that, you kind of lose your kind of like authenticity of it.
I mean, I can totally relate with that with the podcast. Like for me, like I have two target markets, right? Obviously my audience comes first, the restaurant owner. I'm here to serve them. But what makes it work is the sponsorship, right? And I can totally relate to that because, you know, in order to make the podcast work, the service to the industry, you have to make the sponsors happy. And then it becomes about collaborating with the sponsors to meet them where they're at, where they're willing to sponsor the show. And like you lose a little bit of yourself in that process. Yeah. Is that similar to?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
What up, Unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing and recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
So what was so fascinating about here was literally like when I had a conversation and we didn't talk about food or wine, it was just hospitality. I was like, holy shit, like someone truly gets it, right? So he, even to this day, he's never asked me once, like, what's going on the menu or can you put this on the menu? It's the same thing for wine, you know, like I didn't tell him, you know,
what to serve in the glasses.
Yeah. You know, what Rioja, I would like him to serve, you know, it's not my domain.
It's a partnership.
Yeah, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
And with I always say this to people. So kitchen's over there, bar's over there. Tony does his thing. I do my thing, but we meet in the middle here in the dining room with guests.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating, right? So when you, like, it's been such a interesting thing for me to go through all these years and work for all these people and kind of have a sense of self, right? We have an ego to a certain extent.
Everyone has ego, right? It's human nature.
But again, when you kind of pigeonhole and doing all these things, there's always some type of room for conflict. You know, it can be a general manager, it can be something else, it can be a server not showing up, or you know, whatever it is. Here, it's been the opposite, 100%.
Do you think the community? You started this by saying there's something about being a being in a port community where there's all that tourism.
Yeah.
Where in a town like Exeter, where there isn't necessarily a ton of tourism here, you have more consistent relationships. Get more along that line of, like, you talked about the relationship with you and your partner Tony, but what about the ecosystem of this community, Exeter, New Hampshire?
It's a great question because I hear it all. People ask me that kind of in a roundabout way all the time too. It's been amazing. I can't even put it into words as like the response. So again, you show up here. It was literally at one point it was just me and some other kid who was working there. It was two of us, and I remember the sales that Tony was talking about that he did, and I was like, all right, well, yeah, I think we could do X, Y, and Z. So I think there was like maybe 2 entrees, 3 entrees, and 4 small plates. And then I finally got more people. You know, my old sous, one of my old cooks I kind of promoted to a sous chef role kind of came on, and we grew and grew. But it was amazing to, again, not be pigeonholed, to truly cook the food that you believe in, right? Like from the heart, like every day, wake up early, come in, kick ass, put your fucking apron on, right? And do it without any like question of like, who's going to like this or who am I cooking for? Just come in and this is the fucking menu tonight. We're going to just rock it. And then it was amazing. Like once you start doing that and just the response of people, like it was like, people were like, holy shit, you're cooking whole food. It's weird. It was weird. I'm like, no, I'm just cooking food. Right. Like, but like, no, but it's like whole. I'm like, yeah, it's whole food. And it's weird what people are missing. It's like weird. Like, and the response has been great, like from all demographics. I mean, we have, you know, really, you know, prestigious high school here.
Phillips Exeter Academy.
Yeah.
You might have heard of it.
It's kind of rolling out. So we have a lot of students that come in.
A lot of diversity too, from the parents, and you know, sorry to cut you short.
No, that's
another cool thing about this town.
No, absolutely, it's a great mix.
It's New Hampshire, for those of you who don't know, is a very white state.
It is.
Probably 90%.
Yeah.
But in this little pocket of Exeter, New Hampshire, because of the diversity with the professors and the students who come from all over the world and their parents come to visit, there's a very
eclectic.
Yeah, there's a different like a higher brow. Like I don't know if it's higher brow. Maybe that's not the right word, but like diverse world taste.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to put words into your mouth.
Yeah, like very well traveled people.
Yeah.
So, and then we had a couple come in and celebrate their 72nd anniversary.
Wow.
Right? Think about that. 72nd anniversary.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. So
did they have to go through the kitchen to get down here? Or did they handle that?
Well, I know one thing. They didn't get a bill that night.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So again, it's been amazing to see all these walks of life have the same response, and usually kind of like the older folks are kind of like the ones who they don't like to change, or they're like this that, or and they've been the best. Like they've been truly amazing to see this transformation of just the positiveness towards what we do here or what comes out of the kitchen.
Yeah. So I know we've skipped over some of your experience between Ceia and coming to Exeter, and you were at Blue Oak for Blue Moon for a little bit. Before we depart your experience with Ceia, how long were you there? I
worked for Nancy. I think it was 3.5 years.
Okay.
Ran 2 kitchens.
Did you grow at any time? Nancy is a powerhouse.
She is. Yeah.
So I would be surprised if you didn't pick something up from her as a restaurateur or entrepreneur. Like, what was it like working with her?
Just like a lot of other owners, hardworking, dedicated to her craft, good hospitality. I think from all the experiences kind of leading here is the pandemic had something like that one hit me hard, even though I wasn't even in the business. I mean, I was, obviously just.
What year was it when you started with her?
2016.
Okay, 3 years, and you're there until 2019.
Yeah, 19, and then 20 happened, and then the pandemic came.
So were you there when the pandemic hit, or did you?
2 months. I left in February, and then March.
So that was the reason for you to step down or away, I'm assuming.
Oh,
or was it personal?
Yeah, it was very personal.
Okay. Anything you're willing to talk about, or would you rather leave that one?
No, I guess it's when you work hard for someone and you just ask for a little bit of something, respect or something.
Yeah.
And it's not even like slowly or minutely even thought of or achieved. Like you kind of just like, all right, well, I'm done. Like it's just like, again, it's just so I pretty much told her to go fuck herself.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is probably not the best thing, but
hindsight being 2020, what did you learn from this experience?
Truly how to treat the people who work for you.
Yeah.
Like inside and outside work. That was probably the biggest thing I've learned. It's really truly meeting your employees like halfway and like seeing who they are for people.
Yeah. I mean, it's those experiences that really help mold who you become as your own restaurateur, being a partner here today.
Mm-hmm.
Like you hold on to that stuff, you remember these experiences, and it doesn't leave you. It sticks with you, so not to recreate those situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in 2019, you part ways.
Mm-hmm.
Not so gracefully. And where do you find yourself?
Sitting on a couch, watching the pandemic happen, seeing my industry getting destroyed, seeing how restaurants, were the places where people would kind of come together and meet and have a little release on life from their personal life, being just destroyed and being the scapegoat of the place that you would get sick.
How are you surviving at this time?
Unemployment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you also had. I was wondering too if you had some support from, the pandemic. There was a lot of money.
Yeah.
That was available to people.
Yeah. Not just unemployment at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like devastating to see from afar.
Now, I mean, what I like to focus on is the challenges, right? Because it's like in those moments of challenge that we're tested and we're forced to grow out of those moments, and look where you are today, right? So, I mean, bring me back to your mental state during this time. Like, you know, you're still, you know, now you're collecting unemployment. Your neighbor is still your dream.
Yeah.
You know, you're attached to this dream. Like, where were you emotionally? Were you good emotionally?
Oh, no, not good at all. I really thought of like started questioning like completely leaving the business. Like a lot of people did. And again, like just in real time seeing it like being crushed, you know.
What would you have done?
I don't know.
Yeah.
See, it was different because I literally just left, right? So like no one knew what was coming. February. Yeah. I was already out of the mix. So it wasn't like I was at an establishment. It was like, oh, how do we change and evolve, and like we start doing fried chicken. So for me, it was like I wasn't never a part of that. I was removed. But now I'm watching everyone scramble and trying to reinvent, and for me, it was horrible, like messy.
Well, yeah, like get into that. Like, so the industry you knew.
Yeah. You
started in Boston. We shared your story in episode 135. You came up in the industry in Boston. Your first job was in a restaurant. What were the changes from the industry you fell in love with to where you found yourself in 2019 questioning if this is still what you wanted to do? What were the biggest things that shifted for you? Where you're like, I don't even know if I love this anymore.
Yeah, just seeing like places close and being, you know, decimated for, you know, landlords not helping people out, you know, just people, you just saw the, you know, the exit of people just leaving the industry.
Why do you think things weren't working out? Like, get more into that vein of landlords not working with them. What were the other reasons why places were closing, in your opinion?
Oh, just revenue. I mean, they weren't being able to generate revenue like they would. You know, we work on such a small margin here,
right?
And you know, to go from like, you know, having XYZ to like trying to do all this takeout stuff, and you could just see the souls leaving these people even from afar. It was crushing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to make suggest that what you see at the individual level is also happening at a holistic, big picture level, where the soul has been slowly kind of exiting the industry. Something I've been kind of picking up too. When I started this podcast, it was to help the independent, to go interview leading restaurateurs, independents, and share what the successful people are doing and how we can share that with everybody at the independent level to make the independent level stronger, teaching them how to be more fiscally responsible. Like, what are the corporations and the franchises doing that we can emulate at a smaller level, you know, to find balance between soul and scale.
Yeah.
And the more from my perspective, I think it's getting harder and harder and harder to be a soulful, passionate, single unit or multi-unit operator. It's becoming more about your ability to do the business side of things, to promote yourself, to market yourself. If you can be a mediocre restaurant with mediocre food and be a savant marketer and do really well.
True.
And it's like, so as I'm saying this, what's going through your mind?
Kind of like, again, where we ended up on the flip side here. This is the other side of the spectrum, really small, right? Like super small, so you can kind of control every aspect.
How many seats here?
24.
That's not including the patio, is it?
Yeah, patio is 34 seats, so we kind of double in size.
Yeah, and that's only seasonal though.
It's only seasonal.
You're coming into that season right now, though. You're in that season.
Yeah, we just closed our patio.
Oh, you did? You can't keep it open through?
We can keep it open, but staffing wise and stuff. But what you see in that like that's the kitchen. We don't have a walk-in. Everything comes in fresh. We kind of break down everything daily.
So back to where you were in 2019.
Yeah. So it was. Yeah. So again, it was like my thing was looking like what was going to be the end result, like 2 years from like what was going to look like at the end, right? Like how's this going to look if things do turn around? It was scary. Like I just seen because again, like the media was hyping like you can't go to a restaurant without like getting sick, right? Like so again, the place that was supposed to be where like you kind of had love and kind of came together was like no, you can't go to there because you're gonna you're gonna get sick, right? So it became this like weird place all of a sudden. Like,
wait, what do you mean? Like the place that had this soul, the place where you come together to be a part of the
just a restaurant in general.
You can't go there because you're gonna get sick. What do you mean by that? Like
like hospitality, like restaurants are supposed to be a place where like you can kind of like get away from your personal life, kind of go out, have fun, kind of bring community together, right?
The third place.
Yeah, the third place, and that's exactly what Tony. Like that's Tony's words. When he opened it was the third place.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a book on it. That's the book that he read called The Third Place is why he opened this place.
It's based off Starbucks' original model. They wanted to be the third place, not the place between home and work.
Yeah. And so that was, to me, again, looking from afar was gone, right? Like, again, like the meeting was like, you can't go to that third place now because you'll get sick. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so the flip side happened where I end up here. And it's the complete reverse model of the nth degree of the other end of the spectrum where we are so the third place where we are beyond hospital. Like we are, like when people come here to dine, they're like, holy fuck. Like I didn't know that this type of hospitality exists, period. Or that is even here today in 2024. So we go to to the end result to go above and beyond for our guests.
Yeah. So this is going on 2019 into 2020. When did you start here?
2022, 21, I think.
So what happened between 19 and 21? Because I know eventually you did some time working with Blue Moon as well.
Yeah, that was prior. That was short-lived. Again, just
that was before Ceia.
Yeah, right before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was that just kind of floating around trying to figure out what's next, and you stepped into a role?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it just. Yeah.
Gotcha. So 2021 is when you started here at Vino E Vivo. Anything that is worth bringing to the surface of the conversation between this period of you trying to like figure out this is truly what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had like a consulting gig just to kind of pay the bills.
Right. Was it the first time you did that?
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It was interesting. I learned a lot there too, but also gained some great friendships, like pretty much a brother. So again, hindsight, right? Yeah, so that was kind of like, kind of coming out of the pandemic and still seeing what was going on.
How did you feel about consulting? Did it feel right for you? Or did it resonate with you? Why not?
Didn't. Obviously, I mean, I'm still wearing my apron. I mean, I worked the line every night. Yeah, it was just different. Kind of a rebrand, remodel. Yeah, I mean, systems in place. Kind of just ordinary stuff. But again, I met a lot of great people there.
Yeah.
And then again, I reached out. It was during that time I reached out to Tony.
Okay.
And then ended up here, and life kind of, has a way of
right. Take me to where Tony was before you came on board.
Yeah. So Tony opened this up, and he unfortunately was put in the position with a chef that was here that kind of didn't operate the best. And then he was hit by the pandemic.
Right.
Right.
When did he open Vino E Vivo?
19.
19? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I think 18. He's been going on 6 years, so right around there. And so he had to scramble too, to kind of figure out what he wanted to do during that time. They started a wine club. He got a retail license, which we'll talk about later because that's just truly amazing. And then, they came out of the pandemic too. And their chef left. And he was literally thinking about closing. Like he was, it was talked about.
Yeah. Can you get into the specifics as to why that was an option or was a possible option for him?
Money.
Right.
I'm sure he was pissing out a lot of money. Yeah,
right.
Just like a lot of other restaurants, he thought about turning this into like a pizza place. He thought about different avenues, and then literally, I reached out to him in that same time. Again, kismet. It was just like,
So from the time you reached out to him to the time you were actually wearing the apron again, how much time elapsed?
Like 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah.
What was it like when you first came here?
It was fascinating. Like there was just one other kid doing dishes, and it was just me. I had this really small kitchen, and I was just remember like how the reservations would come in, and I think we had like, I don't know, like 17 on the books, and then I remember Tony asking me if we could take a 4-top. And I was like, yeah. He's like, you sure? And I said, yeah. But he was so brainwashed by like what they couldn't do prior, right?
Right, and I think it's important to keep in mind that prior to Vivo E Vino, I think I said that wrong. Vino E Vivo.
Yeah, it trips me up too.
Sorry, yeah. I'm not the great with. I can be good with finding the words, but like saying specific things specifically has never been my forte. So he didn't have any prior experience to this. He didn't know what was possible. His experience leading into this was not necessarily the norm until you came on board.
True.
So, in his defense.
Yeah. He just collected wine, knew a shit ton about wine, and that was his kind of second love, and just wanted to open up a small wine bar. Again, kind of his perspective of wine was what he sees out there, like how I see food out there, and it's just very kind of pigeonholed, right?
Yeah.
But he's very creative, thoughtful when it comes to his price range and list, and how he has to track it, especially here in New Hampshire. It's a little different than a lot of other states.
So you come on board.
Yep.
You've been doing this your whole life at this point.
Yeah.
I think at
I
least
took a
20
huge
years.
pay cut.
Huge pay cut. Why take the pay cut?
Because I saw the potential, and it was just one of those things where I just wanted to cook, right?
Yeah.
Just wanted to cook food. Like, did I know how to cook? That I was trained to cook growing up in Boston and going through there, and like what I believed in, and it's techniques and things, like so many things are lost now when it comes to cooking. It's really interesting. You kind of look back, it's 2024. We're supposed to be more open-minded, but we're not even close to that. And then, so it was just me and this kid, and then we had talks about being able to kind of blow out a little bit of part of our kitchen. So I designed that.
You say blow out?
Yeah, kind
of
expand.
Got it.
And because I told him, I was like, these are the numbers that we can be doing here. And he's like, oh, okay. And then...
do you mind getting into those numbers? 'Cause I feel like this is the stuff we don't talk enough about in the industry. I don't know if it's out of ego or out of fear of other people learning how to manage the numbers, and then you're basically lifting up your competition. But I think when we lift up our competition, we lift up ourselves, right?
Yeah, I think his busy time, I think he was only doing like 250. And I said, I projected like 680, 720 around there.
So $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you came in, you said you saw the potential.
Yeah.
Where was that potential, and what was he not capitalizing on?
Just the use of the reservations, kitchen management, time management.
So in terms of kitchen, let me make some notes so we can touch on these things. Use of reservations.
Yeah.
Kitchen management. Time management.
Yeah.
What else?
How to expedite food, like how to create your menu to expedite at a reasonable rate, right?
Better throughput, get people in and out faster.
Yeah, but still don't lose the quality. Yeah. All those things, which I've always been really good at that. I mean, this is my whole career. So that was kind of like the big part at the beginning.
So what was his reservation process in the beginning?
Oh, I don't even know. It was so ludicrous. It was like, I don't know, 12 people an hour or something. It was fucking stupid.
Was he not using technology? Or?
Oh no, he was. He was just, the last chef just told him like he could only handle this much in a kitchen.
Okay.
Again, he was put in a very bad spot.
Got it.
To begin with.
So really, so kitchen management, get into the details of the things that you started doing differently that really started to, did you ever exceed that goal of 750,000?
Yes.
So what did you do to make that happen? Speaking of the devil, Tony just walked in the back.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
A couple things. It was quality of food, and again, what you're seeing is what you're seeing. There's no other hidden rooms here, and became just a very personable experience when you came here. So I delivered the food, and there was no food runners, right? There's nothing like I cooked the food, and it has to get to the table. So now everyone's like, "Oh shit, the chef's table!" Like the chef's delivering food, right? Like, oh, that's really neat. And then now, because we're so small, and then just the way this restaurant is uniquely designed, it kind of has a chairs effect. You come down this alleyway into this door where you're above everybody. It's really small. You can hear the door open. So when you hear it, you just look up, right? So you make eye contact with every single person that comes in just by default. Yeah. Right? And with that, like as soon as someone comes in, like they're recognized. You know how many times you go to a fucking restaurant and you're just unseen? Like it happens all the time, right? And you see these places that open up and they have 100, even like 85 seats. It's like you're just stuck in a corner again. You're just kind of like a number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the opposing viewpoint to that is if you own a restaurant, whether you have 40 or 20 seats or 80 seats, you're doing a lot of the same amount of work, right? Yeah. So then it becomes units of work. So if you can serve more people, at the end of the day, you still have to do inventory. You still have to open. You still have to, there's all these things on the checklist that have to get done, whether it's 20 seats or 80 seats. Yeah. So if you have a bigger space, then you can make more money in a given amount of time. Yeah. So I see that argument, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the argument that you're making is like you're losing that level of intimacy. Yeah. 100%. So how do you find that balance? Of like earning enough money and staying small?
Check averages is one thing, but I like this. This could be another mantra: turning shit into gold. Right? I'm fucking really good at it.
So what do you mean by that?
So trying to find odd cuts. Right? So we use pig heads. We use lamb bellies. We use whole ducks where everything gets used. So again, it's kind of keeping an eye on the cost of goods. Because there's no way I'm going to pay $29 for a pound of something to put on this. It's never going to happen. Right. Never going to happen.
And I think the challenge to that, what you're doing, is that depends on a Paul Callahan.
Yes.
So you can't have a kid off the street come in and cut open bags, and you have to have somebody that knows how to turn shit into gold. Yes. And that's not easy to find today. I mean, there's people out there, yeah. But to give those people the respect they need, the revenue that they deserve, the money, the paycheck they deserve, how do you find that balance between, giving up so much to and then you have this business that he kind of depends on you now. Mm-hmm. Like Tony's screwed if you decide to leave tomorrow. He could probably find somebody else, right? True. But it's harder and harder to find those people.
Yeah, and that's one reason why we became partners. I mean, right. He understand that. He's a smart guy. He understood the value of that, and then also just the way I train my staff every day. I mean, I do have a day off, right, where they operate the kitchen, and I hear it all the time. Just like, they know my standards.
So you talked about kitchen management, time management. Do you want to pull back a layer or two on those two bullets real quick that we can draw and pay forward to the listeners?
Yeah, just how, again, the daily operation of the time you put your apron on to the time you leave, how you treat your employees when they walk through the door from the time to leave, every single guest that comes in, to having a really small kitchen and how to produce the food that we do out of that kitchen night in, night out on a timely manner where it's like an art.
I think all that stuff just comes with the experience, right?
True. I call it the Tom Brady effect. People laugh at me.
What is the Tom Brady effect?
The only way I can kind of describe, because people ask me like, how do I put these flavors together? How do you know like things work? And I just call it the Tom Brady effect. Like, this dude's like amazing, right? He just shows up one day and this guy gets hurt and he's like shows up and he just like, he does great, right? And then it was just like throughout, like, persistence, hard work, determination, studying, where he actually got to the point where his career, he could literally just walk up to the line and he just knew what was going on, right? Like he could read everything. I think cooks get to that point.
Keeping the defense on their heels.
Yeah. And cooks get to that point where they just kind of mass this accumulation of every single thing they've ever done in a kitchen.
It's the low road of consciousness of you're not even thinking about it.
Absolutely.
It's just there through, it's the 10,000 hours, right? That I think was it Seth Godin? No, not Seth Godin. Was it Simon Sinek? No. Who's the other? Malcolm Gladwell talks about this.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think The Outliers.
Yep.
And just that takes 10,000 hours of doing something to just achieve mastery. And it's just this accumulation of life experiences where you're not even thinking, you have this low road of consciousness that just has this information stored and you just know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing about working in line too. The more chaos that it gets for me, the calmer I get. I mean, it could be fucking balls to the wall. I'm just anyone's it doesn't even look like you're moving.
Yeah. Well, you talked about how you kitchen management, how you treat employees. Can you give me an example of a way you, without sharing specifics about this person? I don't know if you want to keep that confidential, but give me an example of how you've treated an employee that is just exemplifies what you're talking about.
I still remember the first, not here, it was a different restaurant, but it was my first week. And this kid's just having an anxiety breakdown. And I am looking at her. We're getting fucking slammed. So I'm like, where's so-and-so? And they're like, I don't know. I find them sitting behind a walk-in because our walk-in was outside. And I just met this kid a week ago, right? So I just sat there with him the whole time. Just knowing the kitchen's burning. Just so I can, just want to hear him out. Just having a shit day, right? But
do you remember what he said?
Oh, I think prep got to. I think they went just anxiety of the kitchen, new guy coming on, new chef, change. It was a very high intense kitchen, which I do run, but I don't run.
How long were you out there talking to him?
Oh, a good hour and a half.
In the middle of the house burning down.
Yeah.
What questions were you asking him?
Just sense of self. What led him here? What can we do as a kitchen so this doesn't happen again? And just sometimes just listen and just sat there and listen to him. And sometimes we didn't say anything, right?
Yeah.
I still talk to this kid every day, even though he doesn't work for me. We have a great relationship.
Is he still in the industry?
He is.
That's cool.
Yeah, he is. Very talented kid. Or just
at the end of this conversation, where did you leave it when you stood up together? Where did you get to together?
That I had his back. Yeah, everything was gonna be okay. We'll get through this together. It doesn't matter what's going on in there. It doesn't matter right now what's happening in there. And the only thing that happened that mattered was that this person just needed someone at that time, right?
So what's the core takeaway from this story of how you treated an employee that we can recreate in our own business?
That life, there's shit outside of work and life happens, and sometimes it can be brought into work. That's not necessarily bad. That we all struggle with certain things. I mean, we all do, right? And I think it's just sometimes just hearing them out is all they need. Instead of making them feel bad or, lesser than or,
yeah. Well, it's interesting. Big fan of Will Guidara in his book, Unreasonable Hospitality. And he recently posted on his Instagram feed that hospitality is seeing somebody. And I think that's
true.
And and it's 100% true. And I think that we forget that the hospitality extends, or I should say, it doesn't start with the guest; it starts with the employee. We learned that from Danny Meyer. And really to be hospitable to your team just takes taking time to see them, to
absolutely.
listen to them,
to see them, to acknowledge them inside and outside of work.
So that's awesome stuff right there. I have thoughts on that idea of I want to go deeper into the subject of hospitality and what's going on there, psychology, like the psychological level. Why did we evolve as a species to have this thing called hospitality? What is that?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting when you take that idea of it's the hospitality is seeing somebody, and then you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right beyond, it's physiological. And then it's security, feeling like you have security in the world, like you have food stored away for the winter, and then beyond that, it's being seen. It's like the most core thing that we need. And I think that's because we literally need each other. We evolved to need each other. And if we're not seen by our tribe, they're going to kick us out because we're not bringing something, we're like, we need to be seen. We need to be valued. I think it cuts deep, but I don't mean.
And that kind of piggies back off of what you were saying, like, where have I been the last, 9 years? I guess it's cooking's one thing. But when you like get to a point where it's all about hospitality, something changes differently. And it's like, again, like we're always in this restaurants, like, to cook and to do things, to be creative and, to make sure the guest is taken care of. But again, when you kind of really look back and your mission is true what does that mean to be, true hospitality? And cooking's like the second nature of it.
Well, I think the reason why we cook for people is because it's a great way. So you've gotten your security, you put food away, you killed the animals, you have security. And then like that, like going to be the hunter is one way to be seen because you brought back all this food. Being the forager is one way to be seen because you're bringing back this food. And then I think the evolution of being seen beyond that is preparing it and feeding people.
Yeah.
And I think there's a level of selfishness that's also involved in hospitality.
100%.
Where like, why do we do it? Because we want to be seen.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the next.
I truly wake up and love making people happy.
It feels good to be seen.
It's amazing.
And it's like that reciprocity there, that when you give, whether it's getting, farming, right, or preparing to get it to that final stage where it's consumed, there's a lot of value in that.
Oh yeah.
And you think it was probably more valuable going back 10,000 years ago, right? To be the person that like prepared the food and fed people in that moment, and seeing somebody and doing this for them, you're also being seen. I think there's such power there.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master on restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
And that's how this whole restaurant operates. It's just, it's a really neat experience. I can't, there's so many attributes that led up to how this place operates. Like just the way the kitchen is designed. You would never design a kitchen this way. Just the size of the room. And then being forced, like I said, to run our own food, we automatically create this relationship. So every part of the kitchen runs food, right? Like my 18-year-old kid, and we have a chef's table that one of us serves a course. And I'm meticulous in taking notes on not every single person that comes in, but a majority of the people. So at the end of my shifts, I go through, talk to servers, where were they from, what did they like, or just by talking to them. And I'll sit down and I'll have notes on everybody. I have nicknames for people who come in, to the point where it's really neat when you can like go up and read something about something or somebody. And a true example is, again, another step beyond what we do, how we operate, why people keep coming back. So that's another part of it where we just don't have one-offs, so we have a chef's table where people come in every night, and there was this one time this lady came in, and I think it was it's kind of like the whole Charlie Trotter thing, his service thing. When you're talking to a table, the idea is that you're really listening to the table behind you. So it's that kind of mantra of like having full scope of everything that's going on. So this lady was talking about how she would just really wanted French fries for dessert. Off the cuff, she was just talking to her husband, right? Like, all right, just like, so I made a comment, French fries for dessert. Didn't know what it meant, just know that's what I heard.
Yeah.
So then they come in again for a chef's table. I open up the notes. It's just, it just says French fries for desserts. So we make it, French fries for a dessert course, right? And this lady fucking starts bawling, like just, just like how did you know, like how is it, like what's going on now, like how did this even happen, right? And comes to find out she has a rare disease where she craves salt. She has to have amount of salt, so every night before bed she has potato chips and French fries. Not the healthiest thing, but it's just something that she has to live with now. And it was just really cool. Like, again, like even I was like, oh, sorry. Like once I learned her story, I was like, oh, see, this is what it's about, right? Like
that's unreasonable hospitality right there, and it's doing the unexpected. It's that juxtaposition of not settling with what's expected, but like going above and beyond that.
That's how we have to operate in a small world here. But we all do it. That's the thing. It's not just me. Yeah. We all do it here.
How do you get to that point where it echoes beyond you?
You just do it.
No, I mean, like, so it started with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it started with Tony, right?
Yeah.
Tony found you. Together, you shared the same values from that meeting that you had, and where it was just about hospitality.
Yeah.
But then how do you get that sense of hospitality to echo beyond the two owners?
Again, just by saying and doing. So we have a fun game here that we play. It's called Crush 'em, and we'll pick a table, once a week. Could be every night, and we'll just fucking crush them. They have no idea what's going on. So we just send out courses after courses after courses, and they literally have no idea what's going on. And we don't charge them. We don't think we just have fun with them.
Dude, you crushed me one day. Do you remember?
Probably.
I came in here with my parents.
That's right. Yes, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I came here with I came here with my parents, and my parents, they don't eat at restaurants like this. Mm-hmm. They never, they don't go out to eat like this. Mm-hmm. So for Christmas, I got them 2 gift cards, one each.
Yep.
To Vino E Vivo and to the Carriage House.
Yep.
RJ Joyce's spot, and he has partners up there too in Hampton. Or is it Hampton or is it Rye? Anyway, and in that moment, I want to let you know, and I meant to tell you, and I'm happy we were able to capture this, but we ordered a couple plates, and that generosity that you gave, bringing other things out, being here with them, seeing them, I know in that moment I felt seen.
Yeah.
Because of what you did, but in that moment I know that they felt seen and they felt very special on that night. And thank you for letting me and my parents be the beneficiaries of that crush 'em game you have. So, but pick up on that mindset of the game that you play.
So that's like one aspect, but it's like, we're not cheap. We're not really expensive. We're middle of the road. Try to, again, I'm using offcuts and, there's a range of price I just don't even want to get into of like what I want my menu to be at. But when it's fun, when you have young people come in, right? That their work, they have, either money saved aside for the event or to come out, or, they don't know what to experience, but you can tell they're going to get maybe one salad and share something, right? So I have X, Y, and Z in my kitchen, so sometimes it goes to family meal. So it's like the idea of like, why can't I just give it to them, right? Like, I'm either gonna put it over here, or why not just like let them experience something, right? What's the cost of that? That's kind of like a lot of what we do is like, what is the true cost of that? Being generous, or hospital or just going above and beyond. It's just, there's no cost associated with it. It's just kind-heartedness, right? So it's fun to see these people like we're just gonna go out, and next thing you know, they're like, holy fuck, what just happened? Like, again, you can't put a price to that.
Right.
We had a guy. This is funny. This is a couple of weeks ago. So we have a chef's table here that we do. We're booked out for a year. So one of the courses is a trio course, but one of them is we do homemade hoodsie cups. And so we had this guy kind of like joking one night. He was like, it's being sarcastic, and he was like, oh, there's nothing on here. He's like you don't have any like hoodsie cups or anything. So then the server was like, fuck, does he know that we have hoodsie cups? Right? It was this kind of, so she comes in, she's like, do you think he knows? I was like, I don't think so, but we're going to give him a hoodsie cup. So we gave him a hoodsie cup, and this fucking guy turned around, and he's like, dude, what fucking magic shit is this? He's like, no, seriously, like, what is this? Like, how did this just happen?
Did you just keep hoodsie cups on for like no reason, or like, is it for staff or like?
No, it's one of our courses. We make fun hoodsie cups.
Okay.
Yeah, so we take out all the ice cream and kind of refill them. Like we did black garlic and like rose petal.
That's cool.
Again, just a fun play, right?
Yeah.
And then the kitchen staff get to eat it. But again, he was like, I remember him leaving. He was walking up the stage. He's like, I will tell this story for the rest of my life. Yeah. Like, he was just so blown away. Yeah. Obviously we just randomly had
dude, and that's the thing. Sorry, I cut you short. I finished your train of thought, but you just got me really excited. Yeah. I mean, part of the thing I always say, and something that I'm feeling lately, is that we're putting so much emphasis on marketing, new age marketing, right? Where it's about focusing more on making noise out of the four walls, not in the four walls.
Yeah, so I know where you're going with this, but this is going to be a great conversation.
It's just like, I think we've forgotten that word of mouth is king.
100%.
And if you take all that energy that you put into marketing and staying cutting edge, making videos or whatever it is you have to do to feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do, because that's what the marketing experts are telling you have to do today. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you fucking throw all that shit out the window and keep it outside of the four walls where it belongs, and then you just blow people away.
Dude, that's it's exactly how we got to where we are. That is it. Like, like, it's funny, like even our social media accounts, I mean, like, we do post, but it's like I'm so involved in like exactly what I'm doing. Like I don't even post like food. I don't even, like, it's like outside out of mind. It's like I'm just like slowly braising this pig's head, and I gotta pick it and like press it and like that, But again, it's like, it's funny that you just said that, because like the word of mouth aspect of what goes on here, or just like, again, like people like truly like we've had people cry, like just from the experience of like we're not like super like 5-star place. We're just like good people just like wanting to do good for other people, and cooking like whole food and serving kick-ass wine at a reasonable price, and but like I said, just meeting people halfway, eye to eye. Like I see it's always like, I'm like, and they're like, oh, holy shit, I can't believe like so-and-so is here talking to me. And it's just, and again, it's like, you like, wow, like that went so far. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, or you're just remembering someone's name, or what they had last time when they ate, what wine they like. We give out birthday cards and anniversary cards signed by everybody every single night. So when you sit down, there'll be a birthday card for your, again, so as soon as they sit down, they're already like thought of, right? Like the whole kitchen, the whole restaurant just signed a birthday and an anniversary card for them. We have another, so we do crush them. We have another term that we call screams. It's short for ice creams, where we give complimentary ice creams to people. Because even though it's not on our menu, but we do some really fun ones, and again, there's just a generous touch of just like sending out an ice cream, or
I want to point out the significance of what you're doing, and I don't know if you're even aware that you're doing it. But when it comes to building culture, we talk a lot about things. You hear like the most basic, like every culture has, core values. It has a vision. It has a mission it's serving. But I think the next level of that is ritual and language. Yeah. Every culture also has rituals and languages. And your language is the crush 'em and ice cream. What was it?
Screams.
Yeah. Right. And when you say, let's play crush 'em, everybody knows instantly what you're talking about. Let's scream. Let's do some screams. Like that's an example of language, but it's also an example of daily rituals that happen within your restaurant that echo your values and your mission. And I don't know, do you have a mission? Like a clearly defined mission statement?
I'll just make sure everyone's happy to the nth degree.
And like everything you do, the rituals back up that mission.
Oh, 100%. Like
right?
All the servers know, they know there's no such thing as no. We go above and beyond for any type of dietary restriction. Is like, they just know they can come to the kitchen and be like, hey, I need this happen. Like, we'll just make it work, right? Like, it's just like, there's no such thing as no. So they already know that mantra. Like, we'll make anything happen for someone. We'll make purees on the fly that is dairy free. We'll we'll turn shit into gold for people.
Right.
Vegans, like, again, like, I can't even tell you like how many times we've heard people like vegans like I did this, like, I can come here and like you'll do a personal. I've done it. Like I'll create a 4-course personal vegan menu on top of everything else I'm doing, just so they feel heard of. Now remember like what they had last time too. I'll keep tabs on it so I won't repeat a dish. And when I come in again, I'm like, oh, they had the guajillo sauce. I won't do that again. Or, they had roasted beets or whatever. Or but
where are you keeping this information?
On Resi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the last time I spoke to you, when I got to the question about technology. You said I'm old school. Yeah, I don't really leverage a lot of technology. I still enter all my invoices by hand. Yeah, is that still the case?
No, that I don't do. We have a bookkeeper for that, which is kind of neat. Tony's list, he's like baller G when it comes to like paying bills and shit. He's just like shit happens.
I'm like you, man, when it comes to technology. I don't like it. I rather focus on the human side of things. Yeah. But I do wonder, I don't wonder, I know based off of what I've heard that as we move forward, if we're not leveraging technology somehow, if we're not leaning less, let's be honest, labor expense is a huge expense.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
You have to learn how to do more with less.
Yeah,
meaning
absolutely.
You have to lean more on technology and less skilled people. Give them the tools to be able to do more. So you mentioned Resi.
Yep.
Resi just purchased Talk. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I am. Yeah.
Which I was hoping that you were aware of because I feel like that's perfect for your model.
Yeah.
Why are you? So you're aware. How were you made aware of that?
Just being in the loop of what goes on in the restaurant business.
Are you familiar with Talk?
I am not. No.
So the reason why I'm excited for you because you have the chef table right here. So overlooking the kitchen, you have 2 seats, the chef's table.
Yes. And
they have the technology to basically put reservations on a sliding scale. So do you think that chef's table should be do you think that chef's table has more value on a Friday night than on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night?
We're booked out for 12 months.
Exactly. But supply and demand, right? Yeah. Do you think
but see, we think of it opposite.
Okay.
So a lot of people have counter seats, chef's tables, right? That's their mantra. 12 courses, you're going to sit around there. That's how they operate. That's not we don't. It's 2 seats.
Right.
We don't pay the bills on those 2. Like we do, but we don't. So we go to the other direction. So instead of charging someone $150 for this fucking crazy experience, we charge them a lesser price and blow them away. So when they get there again, they're like, holy fuck. Like, dude, I just had how much was this? I'm like, again, I don't, we're not chasing the money. We're chasing so again, someone comes here and they're like, oh my God, I want to book the chef's table. Great. With 8 months out, they book it. Then they're going to come in again. But when they come in the chef's table and they're like, oh shit, now I want to come back. So it's just free marketing.
So basically you're saying that they're going to want to come back.
Absolutely.
They can't sit there because if they want to come back, it'll have to be next year.
Yeah.
So they just come and they sit anywhere.
At the bar.
Yeah.
Because I was saying it's awesome to hang out with Tony at the bar because he's such a cool dude. Yeah.
I need to start coming here more often. Honestly, the truth is, I am one of the reasons why I'm back in New Hampshire hanging out is because I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. I've been wanting to come back. As soon as I sell some ad space, this is the first spot I'm coming back to for sure. But I guess where I was going with that thought before is that I hear what you're saying, and I think that's smart because you're using it as a marketing tool to drive people to the rest of your restaurant. But at the same time, I think there's also something to be said and to acknowledge, and something the restaurant industry has not been good about is realizing that we're in the business of experiences.
Yep.
We are creating experiences of being seen and being valued.
Yep.
and we don't charge. We're not charging off of a model that recognizes the value we're delivering, the experience. So if you were to go to a show on like a Friday night, more people are likely going to go to that show. You can charge a higher premium because there's more people who want to go out on a Friday night, right? So that because there's a limited amount of seats and a high demand, you can charge more to get the primetime Friday night experience. And what Talk allows you to do is to basically, or now Resi, you can charge more for an experience on a Friday night because there's a higher demand for it. So you can get a higher margin on your real estate during those peak hours.
True. And I guess I'll go back to the idea where there's two models that we talked about earlier, a larger scale place or a 24 seat. And I think the model needs to be the smaller ones. I mean, because we're pretty much booked every night, right? So I can't.
I'm not suggesting what you're doing is wrong.
No, I know. I'm just saying that when I from afar, when I look at these places and how they operate,
right.
I'm surprised that not a lot of people actually went to the smaller scale models than the larger ones, trying to chase the money in order to make more money, or just to.
I mean, I hear you and I resonate with that 100%. I do think that the industry is guilty of not maximizing their potential and seeing the value that they deliver, and recognizing that if you're selling out every night on Friday and Saturday night, but you have open reservations on Tuesday, then you can bump your prices up during those Friday nights and have a bigger margin. And then the people that can't get a reservation on Friday because it's out of their budget, they can go out on a Tuesday night because there's open reservations, and you can make it more affordable.
That's true. But again, it's like, so yeah, this is fascinating. So I do the legwork in order to figure out the costs in order to turn shit into gold, right?
Yeah.
So I do all that work because it's like personal to me. Tony does it on the back end. Like, this dude would go through the whole entire inventory system of our estate and look for the craziest wine buys that, and he'll find them. It's nuts. Like, you want to see talk about a kid in a candy store when wine comes in, and dude, if there's fucking dust on this thing, you should see how light, this dude lights up like it's like candy, because he knows it's been in the warehouse for a fucking long time, right? So he does that legwork on the other side. Like, he's trying to find a value that he can then charge the customer. He'll make the same amount of money instead of raising the price, but offering at a lower price, right? Like, that's just, I guess, goes back to mantra or model or what you believe in, right? Like, I would feel bad trying to charge someone more on a Friday night.
I think that's it's weird. I think that's one of our Achilles heels in the industry, because we are generous, we're hospitable, we like to give, and I think that it does come back around. When you give, it comes back around. To your point, that's your marketing model. And if there's one thing I've learned, is that there is no one way to do anything in this industry, and it's 100%. Literally driven me crazy. Yeah. As my mission was to find out how to get the secrets and to distill all the secrets and to pay it forward. And the more I got into it, the more I just drove myself crazy, because it's no scenario is exactly, no two scenarios are exactly the same in the restaurant industry. What makes sense for one restaurant doesn't necessarily make sense for the other restaurant. Oh,
that's true.
Another example of counterintuitive, somebody you probably know, Bobby Marcotte. So they have Tuckaway Tavern.
Yep.
That place is a giant restaurant, probably 200 seats,
that's
if
crazy.
not more.
Yeah.
You have to wait an hour and a half on a Tuesday afternoon.
That's nuts.
To get into that place.
Absolutely, it's nuts. Yeah.
And every time I go in there, I'm like, why the fuck is he not using some type of wait list, digital wait list, so these people don't have to sit here for 2 hours? And that's what you would think, because you would think that's hospitable.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, the other side of that argument is, if there's cars in the parking lot and there's a line of there's a bunch of people in the waiting area, that's marketing in itself, because people are going to see that. But they also have a butcher shop and market attached to their restaurant. So when people are waiting for an hour and a half, 2 hours, you think they're sitting on their ass? No, they're going to the market and they're spending money in the market, and they might not purchase while they're waiting, but on the way out, I'm going to grab that. And that's what happens. So it drives sales to their marketplace.
True. And that's another part of how we operate here. And Tony wasn't, we have a wine club where people, pay a monthly subscription, and we do wine tastings once a month with different, vineyards and, vendors. And And so at the end of these things, people are like, well, where can I get that wine? And he was literally sending people out the door to go to our state liquor store, right? So he was like, shit, like, why can't I just buy it here? So he got the foresight and actually to get a license in order to have a retail.
Right.
So we're retail, which is another thing where like, it's so crazy. Like, so actually going into it, I'm like, how come no one else does this? Like, why? It's such a
go ahead.
It just turns what we call a good day into a great day.
Right.
Right. It's like we can do some fucking crazy sales, like just on revenue, like just as in like someone sitting here and they like a bottle of wine.
Right. Like
one dude bought a $350 bottle of wine to bring home.
That's awesome.
That's nuts.
Well, I think part of it is the industry is guilty of kind of rinse and repeat. We go to work for successful people. We copy the 1905 business model where we're just trying to make, if we're doing 10%, we're doing good. If we're doing 5%, we're doing good. But there's, and that's just off of the sales from the restaurant, that the food that you're serving at the table. But there's other opportunities to drive revenue beyond that. We just don't ever pull our heads out of our asses to see those other opportunities. Yeah. Are you guys doing a wine club?
We are.
What does that look like?
Oh man,
maybe this is a question for Tony.
It is. It's a touchy subject. It's a good one. Again, so his love for wine started a club that I think when I got here, again, this is kind of how we just kind of multiplied and just what has happened. I think there was like 27.
Literally multiplied.
I think it was like 27 members, and I think we're capped at 80 with a wait list. I don't even know how long.
How does that work though? So when you're a member, what do you get?
It's a yearly subscription.
Thank God. I was hoping it was a subscription model.
And then there could be a winery can come in, and do a tasting, so they could try 4 or 5.
So it's experiential based.
Yep. Oh yeah. Tony goes to the degree to make sure that it's like very educational, like Skype, from people in the vineyards from California, wherever, or some of the winemakers themselves. And I think it's $15 for them to taste that night. Again, that's another value. There was one night I came here on a Monday. My wife was doing something with the kids, and I had nothing to do. So I was like, I'll go check out Wine Club. And I was like, dude, at this time it was $10, but I was like, this is fucking $10. I got a fucking cheese plate and 4 glasses of wine. I was like, dude, this is nuts, right? This is unbelievable. But again, we could make more money on the upfront cost. But how much wine we sell at the end of the service, it's nuts. It's crazy, right? Like it's just like this balance that we do of like being generous and actually having like a model that kind of works within these small 4 walls.
Yeah. You guys are more than welcome to, like, I'm in your space right now. Like, I coexist if you need to get back.
I didn't even know he was there.
Yeah. So it's one part subscription where they pay a monthly fee to be a part of and there's
it's a yearly fee, and then it could be, in the summer months we do a little less of the wine events.
So it's a minimum year commitment.
Yep.
How much do you charge up front?
I think it's $100.
How?
I think it's $100.
If I know Tony was going to walk in, I would have set up a third month. Is it $100 a month for the wine club, Tony? Or a year for the wine club? A year? Yeah. And then it's $15 once you get to the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could have once a month. We could have twice a month.
Okay. And it caps out at how many?
Well, we're at 80, so we have 28 seats. So we'll do 2 seat-ins.
Okay.
Not everyone shows up, obviously, but so.
See, I wonder with Talk and Resi, this new technology, I think that you could have a separate event that you could create reservations for.
Oh, we do.
Okay.
We have that. He does all that.
So you could still have, like, you have to pay $100 a year to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, you have to book your reservation to even have access to be able to book this reservation. It's like a separate closed off reservation list that you have to pay to be privy to.
Yeah.
So I think that's a cool thing about technology, is it lets us really wring the most out of the most earning potential by being able to organize events and stuff like that and pre-sell events.
True. And again, we're probably not the best people talking about it, because
neither am I.
Because we sell all our events out without even advertising them.
I'm pushing hard,
nuts.
so I should probably not be public about this, but I believe in manifesting destiny, right? So as I go forward with Restaurant Unstoppable, I've turned away 3 sponsors in the past month because they're companies I've never heard of. and I just don't feel right about promoting companies that I don't know and feel good about. So I'm really trying to, over the next year, get behind companies that if I'm opening a restaurant tomorrow, this is what I'm doing. And then I want to partner with those companies for the next year and make them so happy. Like, you're just add value and they'll come back.
Absolutely.
Right. And Resi's on that list of companies that I am barking up their tree. And I'm like, if you can't pay me the $50,000 that I'm asking for a year of sponsorship, what can you pay me? And then how can we make it a goal to get to 50,000 with sales that I drive your way? Because I want to promote you, because I believe in your technology. It helps people. So if you're listening to this, Resi / American Express / talk, let's make this shit happen. Because I will talk about you. And I want to talk about you because it's powerful stuff. It's cool. What were we talking about before I went on that tear?
Just the wine club and what that looks like. Again, we're going to kind of reinvent that later on, kind of. The model. So this is, you said it was a touchy subject. Is it because you think we could be making more? Well, we're maxed, again, we want to be able to provide for every person. I kind of like.
This would be a fun episode. Do you think I could get you in the same room with somebody from Resi to talk about how you can leverage their platform to maximize your ROI?
I'll be up for it. Yeah.
This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. Talking Resi. I want to go to work for you.
We're also in the process of expanding a little bit. Open up a cocktail bar. So that partnership with that building, that space with the wine club. Again, it's a new territory, so we'll figure it out. But there'll be room for growth there. What does that look like? We don't know yet. But
cool.
Again, we probably could close a week and just open up wine club for a week, fucking and crush it. It's just like different,
I love that. But the big core takeaways from me and your wine club is, one, that it's experience based and you focus on educating the guests. You are offering a subscription or recurring passive income, which is huge. So it's an additional $8,000 a year that you're making at $100 times 80. I think that could.
Never mind the cases of wine that we sell. I mean, cases.
How much revenue from the wine would you say? Is that Tony? Tony, he's gone. But I mean, you were selling those at retail.
So again, we can do 5,000 on a Tuesday just on retail wine sales.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so you got to take that into account, right?
Oh yeah,
obviously.
So we're doing like, I don't know, 200,000 a year, maybe
200,000 a year from the wine,
just on retail wine and wine club.
And the major revenue driver behind that is the wine club.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So back to what you said. You said when you came here in 2021.
Yeah.
You were doing, or Vino E Vivo was doing 250,000 total gross.
Ish. I think. Yeah.
Are you allowed to say where you are today?
Close to $1 million.
Close to $1 million.
Yeah.
So literally almost 4x'd.
Yeah. And another thing too, it's culture based, but so we're closed the week of Easter, right? That's kind of like the opposite idea of restaurants, how they operate, right? Easter. So again, Easter brunch. So we close that week. We close 4th of July.
The whole week.
Wow. And we close Christmas and Thanksgiving.
I think that's good. I mean,
absolutely. Again, it goes back to culture, and like we
treating your people like people.
And we all have 4 days off in the kitchen, even myself.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 days off. I work 4 days
a year.
Yeah, every day, every week I have 3 days off.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
I thought maybe like PTO.
No. No.
That's awesome.
It's a different model. Like, man, I would never go back to fucking 5 days.
Yeah.
It's weird.
My mission statement is literally.
I know it sounds selfish, but people should try it.
Well, my mission statement is to inspire, and I think that's through the stories of like you had some downs in this.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like where you were thought about walking away from the industry, and a couple of years later you powered through, and now you're doing close to $1 million with 34 seats. Was that what it was?
28 and then a patio.
Seats, and you're happier than you ever been. Safe to say.
100%. Yeah. It goes back to my staff. I mean, I have like a fucking amazing crew. I can't even put into words like all their backgrounds and what they bring.
Sorry, I get distracted.
Just. How hard they work, and they all like all of them, man. again, I can just tell you the positives, like the stories all the time. Like, I had this guy at this table over here. He was like, I can't believe I'm gonna say this. He's like, this is the happiest restaurant I've ever been to. Like, it was such a weird, like, positive, like, thing. It was like, wasn't about the best meal. That was the best glass of wine. He was like, dude, this is the happiest restaurant.
And it all goes back to being human. To do the most human 100%. Things that this industry literally was birthed from.
Yes,
hospitality.
And that's what I was getting at earlier, man. Like, watching it crush, like, be crumbled in front of me during the pandemic, and like what it truly meant to be in the everyone's four walls, and then like, and again, like, we just turn it around. I'm like I take pride in that, like, you know. But
so back to the mission statement: to inspire. Tell me what you just shared in that past 2 minutes, in the past hour and a half isn't inspiring.
It's been an hour and a half?
To inspire, empower, right? And you've shared that with sharing your knowledge and sharing what you've done to turn this place around, and how you evolved as a chef and now chef partner. Yeah. And you're sharing these lessons with us and how you're maximizing your revenue. That's empowering.
Oh, yeah.
And then the last part of the statement the mission statement is to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. Yeah. And the transformation thing is what you're talking about now, is basically, we have to start finding balance, you know, and like to your point of like taking care of your employees, giving them time off during the holidays, giving them 3 days off a week. That has to change too.
Yep.
If we want to bring people back to this industry, because we just had this mass exodus.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. 100%.
Like, we have to change.
Yeah.
And we have to be better about this. So what else is going through your mind as I'm saying this?
Given your staff the opportunity to grow and to succeed, and just doing that by like leading, I can't even man. I said, I can go back to my crew. They're just amazing, but just seeing the leaps and bounds that like a lot of these kids just went through, like personally, just growth wise, and like cooking and just being better humans. It's just amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
So before we start talking about where we're heading, we're probably going to go the full 2 hours. Hope you're okay.
That's fine.
That.
No, I'm good.
I mean, the first time you were on the show was 49 minutes. That's one of the things I changed about the podcast.
I sat in my car.
I was like, this is like, I just can't do what I want to do in less than an hour. And I think that the show has gotten so much better when I can just sit down
and talk,
with no other motive other than just listen.
Yep.
And see where we go.
Yeah.
Do we have a plan going into this?
No, not really.
Yeah, I was like, we're going to talk about what happened in the past 9 years. We're going to talk about where you are today, and we're going to talk about where we're going.
Yeah.
But I just want to summarize. So, joined in 2021. It's now 2024. A little over 3 years you've been here.
Yeah, 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Yeah. You've increased revenue $750,000.
Yeah, closer.
What was the first year like? Did you went from 250 to how much in the first year being here?
I think 5.
So you doubled?
Yeah.
So has it been basically 1x every year thereafter?
Yeah.
So 100% growth every year?
It's hard to because I'm not privy to all the numbers, but I can kind of like do my thing online, kind of figure it out. But yeah.
So the first year was 100% growth. The second year it would have been 50% growth, and then the third year was 25% growth.
Yeah. Like the last year, like we kind of maxed out last year a little bit, but then we're kind of like we found our groove with the patio, maximizing how the kitchen operates in order to get the food out, and creating stations that normally wouldn't be created in a normal restaurant. So the only thing we haven't talked about, and I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, I like the idea of open book management. If I open a restaurant tomorrow, my plan is to do open book management to the world. Yeah. And I can't make you do that. Yeah. But in terms of profitability, what about margins there? And you don't have to answer that question. Yeah, no, it's good. It's also another fascinating part too. Is like, I don't know how many times you touch on this subject, but like, or how many times you've gone down this road with all the other past people, but there's a difference between having rent and owning the building or space, right? So we lose that overhead because we own the spaces. So that's a huge positive towards us. So it's hard to
So you do own the space?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then the space above us that
was
would
that like $2,000 a month you would have to shell out?
In this town now, probably four.
Yeah,
easy.
Post pandemic.
Yeah,
yeah,
restaurant space probably 45.
Yeah.
So just think, I mean, like that's every day bottom line, right?
Right.
Every month. Again, so it's different. It's hard. It's like because I've worked in so many places where you get a we have $5,000. We have
but
7,
landlords are so generous and forgiving. That was a joke.
Yeah, I know. So again, it's different. Like our profitability margins are different because we have a little flexibility. It's different. There's also like a weight that is lifted because of that.
Right.
That I don't know. A lot of people get to experience.
Right. So you're dancing around the question right now in terms of top line revenue or profitability. So like, what do you think is a good number to aim for? What do you think is doing good? Percent profit.
Having all our bills paid weekly, giving a great salary to all our employees, giving them the time off, not chasing the numbers, and having money to expand into a new venture that we want to go into.
Is that happening for you?
Yeah, with the cocktail bar.
Nice. There's a cocktail bar going upstairs?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's our next project.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
I love that. Congratulations. In terms of technology, before we move forward, what is your tech stack today? I think you're using Resi for POS. I think I saw that you guys have Toast.
Yep. Yeah.
What are you adding? Is there any other piece of technology that you're leveraging? Budgeting, costing, tools like that?
I don't know. No. That's like no.
Yeah. So are you?
That was just here when I got here.
What was the Toast and Resi?
Yeah.
Got it. Should I talk about this with Tony?
Yeah.
Not your lane. Understood.
Yeah. He would his conversations is going to be great. Like talk about positive and just a different perspective of his story is just going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like again, we don't have a walk-in. It's just so different.
Well, that's actually something
our waste is fucking. We have no waste here. It's like, dude, it's like the best feeling.
Well, that was something I was curious about. I meant to ask earlier, but I didn't want to cut you off. You were on a tear. What is your process? So you get food in every day?
Yeah.
Do you go to a farmer's market? Like
it's a mix. It's farms, deliveries.
Are you still working with Three Lines or Three River Alliance?
I am not.
Okay.
One of our services has a farm that she works up Monday through Friday, so I get stuff from her.
What farm is that? Give me a shout out.
I don't know, Miranda's farm. They just moved out of Hampton to Lee, so they're in the process of like reestablishing.
Okay.
And then I get fish flown out of Boston. I get fish flown out of Portland.
Fish flown out of Boston?
Yeah, like into.
Okay.
Yeah, like overnight. And then kind of just your main vendors that come in.
And you're getting food delivered every day.
Every day.
You're picking it up?
No, it's delivered. Yeah, it's a mix. I mean, I might stop by a farm here and there, but...
What are the challenges with cost of goods and managing costs and tracking costs when you're working with so many different vendors?
I mean, the prices just keep going up. They just never go down.
I think they should keep going up, for the record. Because you think it's all connected, man. Like, do you think restaurant employees should be making more money? Do you think chefs should be making more money? Do you think restaurant owners could be more profitable? Well, it all starts with, it trickles down.
It's true, but there's also a concept of like when people see a number on the menu, they automatically won't go there. I'm just a believer of it. Like,
I think you're right, and I think that the issue is a fundamental cultural issue with society not understanding the value of food, and I think that is. It's been a 70-year shift, and I talk about this all the time in the show, so I'll spare my sponsors. But like we centralized the food system when we made food cheap and convenient because that's what the consumer wanted. Everybody wants more for less.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
But like, do they really want that? Like, are we just nothing but a sick society today because of that?
Yeah.
And I think in like 1940, like the average household spent 22% of their income on food. And now it's like 9%.
Yeah.
Like, where's our money going? Like I think we just need to prioritize. But to your point, your customers are coming in here. They're like, this is like whole food. This is like holistic, like ethically sourced food.
Yeah.
And when I eat this whole food, I feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even just like, again, I alluded to it earlier, but like, there's this weird like thing in like the restaurant industry and food and I mean, I guess if like you're a ramen place, like kind of like that's your thing, but like a lot of us were trained in, I mean, I'm 45, so a lot of us were trained in kitchens back in the day where you were trained to like break down whole animals, right? Like how to break down a lamb saddle, how to butcher off the belly, how to roll it up, how to braise it, how to, really truly roast your bones, right?
Respect the animal.
Yeah, how to make like a foie torchon, how to clean a foie. Like how many times I've been yelled at just to like clean a fucking piece of foie gras, right? But again, it was weird. Like how would I? So I got yelled at so many times, but then what? Never to cook that again. What was it? What was it worth? What was it for?
Right.
And I think a lot of chefs find themselves in that world of like doing things right, creative. But then I was like, all right, well, that's all I know. Like that's all I've been kind of trained. I'm self-taught, never went to school. But how to make a proper demi, how to reduce your sauces, how to cook fish right. Like, so those are only the things I know. So it's funny when you have those techniques and those things and you're like, well, this is just what I do because this is what I was taught and trained. And the people come and eat it and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like whole food. I'm like, I guess, yeah, it's just food, right? But it would be weird to like lose all that technique and like, so to me, it's like I try to hold on to as much as possible. And kind of now it becomes like old world. It's weird. It's like, it's just a different format of like.
So I want to respect your time.
Yeah.
Looking at the clock, we have 13 minutes together
okay.
for me to get you back in the kitchen, like I said I would by 2:00. The last question I asked you, the last time you were on the show, the question I asked was, what question could I have asked you today? And you said, where do you see the culinary landscape going in the years to come? Is the question I should ask. So along that line, this is a question I always ask all my guests now, for the record.
Okay.
So where are we and where do you see the industry going?
So see, it's fast. I mean, I can kind of just piggyback off of what I just said too, right? Like, I think it's going back to, hopefully it's going back to whole food, just good cooking.
I think it is going back in that direction.
I think so too.
And I think it has to, and I hate this, this part of it's true. I think it has to come from educating. I think it has to come from a selfish place.
It does.
And I think consumers only do things when they know what's in it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we educate people on like what holistic food can do for you and your health, because as we go into the future, we're realizing that nothing beats like holistic farming, like regenerative farming, where we're just trying to grow that food in the most natural environment possible. And when we do that, the product's better. There's less chemicals, no GMOs.
Mm-hmm.
It's better for your body, and it's almost like healthcare.
Yeah.
And when you start tapping into that market as food as good for you, and what's going through your mind as I'm sharing this?
Oh yeah, like I just I think of like I harp on this idea of like we're supposed to be 2024 and way advanced in where we are food wise, but we're not.
Right.
It's crazy. It's like we're supposed to be way more creative, right? If we're supposed to change with the times, and again, this goes back to like in early 2000s, I'm learning all this crazy stuff, to all this technique, and like what to never use it again. It's just like it's weird. So, and then when you serve this food and the people are like, holy fuck, oh my God, like this is like, I've been craving this. Like this is truly the best meal I had in years. And I'm like, man, I just like slowly cooked a lamb belly for you. Like, it's like you just ate a fatty piece of lamb with like really good grits and like smoked carrots, it's like, but I think that's like, hopefully it's going in that direction of like, just like, I guess grab and go is kind of like always will be there. Like those kind of fast, kind of like casual places. And I mean, I think all cities need it. So again, it's also weird because like we're not city based, but, I could just piggyback off of what happens up the street at Cornicello. I mean, yeah, we're booked, but Tim's booked out fucking months, man.
I need to get him on the show.
He's fucking such a great dude.
You know him well?
Yeah.
Would you make an introduction?
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Put him on the spot here.
Tim O'Brien next. Yeah, he's just a great dude, humbled, and just makes fucking killer pasta, like up all night making this shit. But again, it's like he's not doing what we're doing. I mean, we're a little bit more artful and playful, and but he just makes really good and wholesome pasta, like comfort dishes. And again, in the reaction to that, like what's happened up the street, a couple blocks up in here in a small little town. It just shows you what people like, where it's going, kind of thing. It's just like,
well, I love that vision. I think that's the side of the vision or the world. I would like to see the world move in that direction. But there are other people that would say that we're heading in a direction of automation, of AI, robotics, leaning more on automation and streamline process to be able to serve more people with less. And it's going to be the restaurants that figure out that automation and scalability that are going to be putting what you're trying to say out of business, because there's no way, because it comes down to cost, right? So how do we find that balance? Because I think both are probably true, but I think that there needs to be some place in the middle where we can like how do we find that balance?
That's a great question. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
For every one thing that's true, I have noticed that there's an opposite truth. And like that's one of the other things, as somebody who says my unique selling proposition is true, it's like I don't know what's true anymore, because there's usually countering truths everywhere. There's like a spectrum, like this multiverse of truth, in like every direction. Anything we did not discuss today that you were hoping to talk about, or something that you think we should talk about?
No, I think we did the gambit pretty good. I mean, we covered a lot of ground.
You're politically outspoken.
A little bit.
And this is something that I think I would like to start getting more into. Really, my mission statement is to change the world through inspiring, empowering, and transforming the restaurant industry. And I think that if we inspire and empower the restaurant industry, because of the things we're talking about, the restaurant industry is so close, and it goes into every community. And
it really does.
And if restaurants can change and lift themselves up, they will ripple out to their employees, to their guests, and to their communities. And I think that the restaurant industry truly has transformative power. And I'm moderate when it comes to politics. So I think I'm in a special place to be able to listen to different people's perspectives. So in terms of politics, what do you think needs to change in the world?
Oh man, I think a better understanding of and communication between ideals and a better love for other people.
How does that translate to politics? How do we achieve that with politics?
Just because, like, I've been barred from doing certain events with people, which I find funny, like, because of my political views. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, I'm like, separate from politics, I'm a really cool dude, right? Like, I kick ass. Like,
I think anybody who's listened to this podcast today would think that you're a pretty decent human being.
Yeah. And it's just funny that, like, again, because of my affiliation with people, I'm like, I would never do that to someone of their what they believe in or what they, where they align. Like, and that's the part of, like, food that I wish could just bring more people together.
Well, what happens when you sit down at a table with people is you're forced to hear their side. You're forced to listen to their perspective. And I think a byproduct of the world we live in today is that it's very easy to be in an echo chamber into like this culture of, if you don't think like I do, if you don't have my beliefs, then I can't associate with you.
Yeah, it's happened to me. It's crazy. I'm like, I would never do that to somebody. But yeah, it's like, just that notion's very bizarre to me. Yeah.
Well, I think, Simon Sinek talks about this in his book, Leaders Eat Last. And he talked about how, I think it was around like the 60s or 70s. If you were a politician, if you were a senator, you would live in Washington, D.C. during your term. Like you would be forced to go to dinner, into soccer games, into events with people who are literally opposite from you politically. But when that happens, you learn to see their humanity, and you realize that they're humans,
yep.
and that they have, at the end of the day, the same values that you do. Just maybe a shift of like, we need more policy or less policy.
Yeah.
You know. So in terms of policy, what do you think needs to change?
Oh man, this goes back to our fucking farming policies. Just what's happening in our farming industry is like horrible.
How do we change that?
Oh man, I don't know.
So would that be less regulation? Are you saying that
just
right?
how much land like China owns,
right.
how much farmland they own here? Just like that's a scary one. Like why is that even a thing, right?
What could you possibly say that would get you banned from an event?
That's a great question too. It's just
I grabbed you that towel because I thought maybe the spill that I made.
I know, but I've been liking the spill. I've been just checking out the glare, kind of quirkiness, but nothing egregious. And I think memes are really funny too because then they get you in trouble. That's a whole other world.
All right. Well, I don't want to dig too hard, but I do think it would be cool to start sharing more. I think because we are sitting at a table, and because I have this ability to have open conversations with people, I want to share a perspective from both sides.
Yeah.
And because I think I'm sitting in a very good place to share perspective, being a neutral individual, seeing pros and cons to both sides of the table, or of the aisle, or whatever you want to call it.
Like for instance, this is I don't know where this is going to go, but so we have 6 Hour, which is right up the street.
Yeah.
Right. You know them.
Yep.
Right. Large gun manufacturer.
Yep.
Huge training facility. All of us here, I think, well, for the most part, everyone in the kitchen owns a gun.
Yeah. I own a muzzle loader.
You do? That's dope, dude. That's dope. And so for Christmas, I was thinking about, as a gift from me to the staff, is that we went to a gun range. So I've been kind of working with them to kind of coordinate a day. But just listen to what I just said.
You animal.
Right? Like, like if I was to post that, like I can just see that shit hitting the fan when it's just
I think
like,
you should do it.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, because
all of us kind of believe in the idea of Second Amendment. We're all very safe in what we do.
Yeah.
But again, that's just kind of like the part of the spectrum that I see that's out there. Right, like we could be chastised for going to a gun range. This is crazy.
Well, people say like don't go political, like blah 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 blah. I'm like, but do you understand? Like this is a restaurant business podcast, and business it's all connected. You know, and how we vote and how this is the whole purpose of democracy is to have open conversation, public freedom of speech to influence. And that manifests in who we put into office. Yeah. So I think people need to talk more about it. I, for the record, think it's outrageous, the two people who are running for president right now. Like if I had my choice, it would be neither of them. And the fact that is how like it always ends up being these two knuckleheads. And it's like, how is this happening? Yeah. It's because people don't talk. People don't elect good people into office is how it happens. So like we have to talk. We have to share information. We have to share opinion. And I think, that's a whole conversation for another day, but it's something I want to start talking more about. And people don't want to talk about it, I'll respect that. But if they're willing to talk about it, let's go, baby. Let's make it happen.
No, I agree. I think, and what's also interesting is restaurants, we're always on the forefront of guests and people, right? And we all bring something to the table. So it's always interesting, like who's in the kitchen, where people are at, politically or on the scope of things. And it's always there's always something there to talk about. There's always something. So that's always a fascinating part. Just working in the kitchens, or
Well, it is 2:00 on the dot. I want to respect your time. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions to wrap it up. You can just answer these quickly. You don't have to go too long. But what is one thing about your business, a value, a process, a system that makes you truly unstoppable?
My smile.
Nice. The statement is to change a world, again, by inspiring, empowering, and transforming the restaurant industry. So how have you personally transformed? Who is Chef Paul Callahan today versus maybe even who you were 9 years ago?
a better dad, or just
that.
being a dad,
being available to be a dad.
having kids definitely changed my perspective on people that work for me and around me, and vice versa. So looking down upon my kids and looking up at my staff, that definitely made me a better human.
If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom you could leave behind for the good of humanity and your legacy. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be?
Be authentic, be kind, and be genuine.
I love it, man. And now is when I have you call somebody out.
I'll do 2, because I already called out Tim. So Tim for Cornicello, and then Tony Calandrello, who owns this place.
Should I just keep the mic set up and let Tony take your seat right now? I don't want to blindside him. I'll at least send him the link to the interview flow so he knows what he's in for. But I'd love to make that happen. And I did want to ask you this, and I forgot, so I'm going to do it before we officially wrap up. In terms of your greater picture and how you still have dreams to open your restaurant that you live next to, your ultimate dream, when do you see that happening?
I don't know. I am in the process of getting a smaller loan just to build it out. Again, family. My family's growing now. When I had the vision and dream, I had no kids, but now I need the space. My model there is different. Again, it won't be a full-blown restaurant. It will just be weekly dinners, Fridays and Saturdays.
Under the Vino E Vivo.
Maybe. If I was to maybe buy all this place, eventually. Or, the idea of Vino on the farm, it could just be, dinner at Chef's house. But again, my end goal is to wake up every morning and be like, I got to cook the food I have to, not the food I want to. That's kind of,
Yeah. I mean, my hope, my vision, my dream for you is that the attention that you get from Vino E Vivo that you so rightfully deserve will help bring on the notoriety, the influence you need to make your dream come true. I think what Tony has done to the partner in you, and when you can come together and go further together, that's my hope, my dream for you.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's, you never know what's around the corner or what's laid out for you, and I never saw this place doing what we are doing now. I never saw the idea of even open up another place like a cocktail bar, but having another amazing human come in as our general manager, Justin, and just the energy that this person brings to fulfill that other role. Then you're like, all right, so we have 2 amazing places. What can we all do together even more, right? So I'm more energized about what that future is now than I did 4 years ago.
When are you gonna open the farm? Give me a manifest it.
Give me 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have you back on the show in 2 years to talk about what it's been like. And now is when I say I forgot to ask, how can we connect with you if we enjoyed today's conversation?
Chef P. Cal, that's Instagram. I don't know our handle for. I know it's Vino E Vivo something. We got fucking whacked once. We lost our site, so I forget what it is. Vino E Vivo on Instagram, Facebook.
I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, there's an underscore in there somewhere.
Vino E Vivo. It is vinoevivo.com.
Yeah.
And your Instagram is?
It's Vino _ Vivo New Hampshire or something.
Vino E Vivo. So that's a VINOEVIVO _ New Hampshire.
There you go.
This is where I say thank you so much for taking the time to get vulnerable, to share your story, to share your perspective, your knowledge. There is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
You know, one thing, I'm going to call you out one of these days. Oh. I want to do a podcast with you.
All right, man.
I want to fucking interview you.
Let's do it. We publishing this on Restaurant Unstoppable?
Absolutely.
All right.
Because your story is great. I know you did yours with your parents, and that was just that story is amazing. But
thank you.
I think you have an amazing story that needs to be told.
I appreciate that.
And
we're getting vulnerable. I do a getting vulnerable with Eric. I cut you short. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just think I just want to be like, I just think it'd be awesome to actually go to the flip side of it for you.
Yeah, maybe I'll let you know when we're going to record that, because once a year, maybe a little less, more frequently than once a year, like I kind of share what's been happening. Just drove to San Diego and back, living in my camper for like 4 months. Learned a lot.
That was so awesome to watch too.
Thank you, man. Yeah. We're gonna be getting personal real soon and sharing that. So when we have a date, if you want to join us, we'll set up another microphone. Yeah,
because I think it's just awesome to see what you've been through.
Thank you.
135 to now. It's just kick ass. You're just a different spectrum of what we all do here in this kind of restaurant world, and it doesn't go unnoticed. You're amazing what you do.
That.
So
thank you so much, man. It feels good to be seen. So with that, we'll say goodbye, and I'll say it again. There is no question. I literally can't do what I do with people like you, so you make it possible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers.